Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Paranormal Misfit podcast. I am your host, Chrissy, and I'm here to talk about everything from scary movies to hauntings to the paranormal, cryptids, and everything in between. So I hope you guys are all cozied up in a nice little spot with your favorite drink. I know I have mine, and I'm recording this in the morning. So thank you again, paranormal lovers, for my fantastic coffee mug. Oh, also another shout out, Moth Boys podcast. Got my shirt. Looking pretty spoofy. I love it. All right. So to round up, basically, the lovely month of October and Halloween and everything in its glory, tonight's episode is going to be about the 2007 um, movie Trick or Treat. And this movie was written and directed by Michael Dougherty. Did I say that right? Yeah, Dougherty. And honestly, it's like one of my faves. Um, First off, who doesn't love? I need a sip of coffee. Who doesn't love Sam? Absolutely awesome. And it was even better because I practice witchcraft and stuff, and his name is short for Salad. That's awesome. Anyways, moving on. So you're watching the movie, and yeah, you're watching, and you see the little kid in the orange. We're gonna call it an orange jumpsuit. They call it orange footy pajamas, and honestly, they were. But carrying around a sack and just kind of watching as the night progresses, right? And so it takes place in a fictional town called Warren, Ohio, and it follows like a really non-linear plot. So like it's different stories and different characters throughout the whole thing, but it all kind of circles back around and everyone kind of cross paths and they don't realize it. Um, and it's really centered around Sam. And they call him a peculiar trick-or-treater in orange footy costume who appears to be enforcing the rules of Halloween. So in the opening scene, you see a couple coming from, I'm going to guess like the town's Halloween festival or whatever, and the wife doesn't like Halloween. The husband's a true enthusiast. Their yard's all decked out. They got jack-o'-lanterns out in the front, and the rule that she breaks, the wife, who is if you're a millennial, you'll know her from the show Popular. I believe it's Leslie Bibb. She blows out the candle, and Sam happens to see that. So she is in the midst of tearing down all of her Halloween decorations. Her husband's like, you shouldn't do that. You should really wait until November 1st, as tradition or um, superstition, whichever way. It's kind of like the Christmas tree thing. Depending on who you are, depends on what superstition or tradition you follow. I know for me, my mom waits until New Year's, like the day after New Year's to do it. Um, Me, sometimes I wait until February because I'm busy. So anyways, so as she's taking down the decorations, you see Sam go full force on her, and he basically kind of acts murder her in the nicest way possible. While her husband's upstairs kind of hanky-pankying himself and falls asleep and then realizes, oh shit, where's my wife? And with that, he wanders down into the yard and he's looking at the decorations and he gets a closer look and come to find out Sam made her the decorations, which was basically a whole bunch of carnage. And honestly, I fucking loved it. I was like, oh, cool. So totally caught my interest. So then you move next into trick-or-treaters. And this kid, his name was Charlie. He kind of reminded me of Truffle Shuffle from the Goonies. I don't remember the kid's name. I just remember Truffle Shuffle. He's vandalizing jack-o'-lanterns, and it's caught stealing candy because, I know we all did it at some point. I know when I was trick-or-treating when I was a kid, the whole like, please take one piece. So anyways, he's caught stealing candy from an unattended bowl that happens to be in the school principal's yard or porch, Stephen Wilkins. And Stephen Wilkins, kind of talks to him. They're sitting on this porch, and while he's lecturing Charlie about the importance of respecting Halloween rules and traditions, Charlie starts to throw up. He starts to feel he's st- sorry, I'm doing this on Google Meet, so he starts to feel bad, and then he starts throwing up, and it was so gross. It was almost like watching. It definitely didn't look like throw up. I mean, granted, the kid was eating a chocolate bar, but it was spewing out like almost like watery diarrhea. It was so nasty. Well, anyways, come to find out, Mr. Wilkins had revealed that he laced the candy with cyanide, saying the true statement, you should always check your candy. While he's trying to attempt to cover up his murder, he hands out candy to trick-or-treaters. Granted, he's covered in blood, scares the shit out of some kids. Um, Sam stops by, trick or treat or whatever. Wilkin attempts to bury Charlie in the backyard along with the body of another victim, but one is he's interrupted by his kid Billy, this little ginger Billy, um, his crabby old neighbor Mr. Craig, and his Craig's dog. Craig's dog's name is Spite, and I died laughing. Not even gonna lie. So there's another victim while he's throwing him into the hole in his backyard, because that makes sense. Um, that is still alive. And so he's beating the fuck out of him with a shovel while Spite's barking at him, running off with I think he severs off like a finger or something and throws it into the yard, and Spite picks it up and runs with it, and hot mess, just hot fucking mess. Well, anyway, so he returns indoors, right? And the neighbor Craig, while Wilkins is going indoors, he looks over to his neighbor's house because literally it's like Pleasantville type style. And he notices Craig screaming for help in front of the window. And this kind of revolves back around later, right? So, anyways, his son Billy, was bugging him to, I want to carve some jack-o'-lanterns. You said we were going to carve some jack-o'-lanterns. And it was so funny because one of the lines in this movie, while he's sitting there trying to beat the crap out of the person, his victim, in the shallow grave in his backyard, and Billy's all out there, yelling from like the second floor, I want to do this. He yells out, go watch Charlie Brown. And this kid yells back, Charlie Brown's an asshole. It's like, holy fuck. Well, anyways, so they're walking down into the basement. He gets his kid, they're walking down into the basement, and his kid's standing at the table ready, and Wilkins, like, you thought about it for a split second because he walks up behind his kid with a butcher knife looking like he was ready to his own kid. And then he stabs it into the head of the kid, Charlie, who he had previously killed and basically beheaded, and that was the jack-o'-lantern they were going to use to carve. So at one point you learn about news story. Just go with it, right? Um, at one point you learn about a story that happened in the town, and it deals with a school bus massacre on Halloween. So, anyways, a group of teenagers, which they really didn't look like teenagers to me, they looked like preteens, but whatever. I also have two preteens, teenagers. They like borderline, like 13, 14, who are collecting jack-o'-lanterns, and when they meet, it's Vout, and she seems to also maybe be like the weirdo, so probably a spectrum kid, because that's how everyone treats those kind of kids. She's she's a traditionalist for Halloween, and they run into her. Her name's Rhonda, and one of the boys, I don't remember, I think it's Chip maybe, or Schrader, one or the other, talks her into going with them and letting them use, because she had so many intricately carved jack-o'-lanterns in your yard. Like, she did all of them. It was amazing. But they're led, by the group is led by Macy, which was this girl dressed up like an angel because she was a total bitch. They go visit the flooded quarry where she recounts an urban legend of the school bus massacre. And in the legend, what happens? The weary and resentful parents of 8 seemingly mentally handicapped, and this was absolutely terrible. No, seemingly mentally handicapped kids bribed the school bus driver to dispose of them by basically paying him out. So before the driver could complete his plan, now mind you, the kids on the bus, they're kind of chained to their seats, right? It almost looks like a jail bus the way that they treat these kids. And um, with that, he before he could plan to, he was giving each one of them a piece of candy, walking down, checking their shackles or whatever. Mm. Apologies if you hear my youngest, he is potty training. So anyways, before he could attempt to complete the plan, one of the kids, and it's the one dressed up like a vampire, manages to break out of his shackle because he realizes, and this is also where, like, the mentally handicapped, but they're probably also autistic. And that's not really a handicap to me. It's just, it's just different, right? Um, he realizes that it's off his schedule, right? This isn't the way to go home. And that's what he kept saying, go home, go home, go home. So he gets out of his shackles, runs to the front of the bus, gets it into gear, and the bus ends up going off the cliff in this quarry. All the children drown. The driver somehow survives and is never heard from again, and no one tried to find the bus as people didn't want it to be found. So Macy is explaining that they got the jack-o'-lanterns as tribute for the deceased. The group splits up, and Rhonda and Chip are left behind. So Chip, yeah, okay. So Chip is the little kid. Little, I say little kid. He's like the size of Sam. So anyway, so she gets separated. Rhonda gets separated from him and is being chased by scary looking fucking figures. And once she's hurt while being chased and reduced to tears, the other teens, we're gonna call them teens really, they're probably like junior high kids, um, revealed that it was them disguised as the dead children in an attempt to prank her, right? All planned by Macy. Schrader then realizes the trick's gone too far and tries to comfort her, while a bitter Macy kicks a jack-o'-lantern, which she kicks it into the water, just, extinguishes the flame of the jack-o'-lantern. And the undead children of the school bus massacre emerge from the lake and attack the teens. Rhonda coldly, and as she should, abandons them to their deaths as revenge for their prank. As she leaves, she encounters Sam and gives him a nod of respect. Now, remember, Rhonda is a true devout person to Halloween and its traditions. So, anyways, so next story, and it's so funny because when I was researching, more into this, I found out a little tidbit and I thought it was interesting, right? Because you never see who plays Sam, and come to find out, the kid who's the person who's playing Sam is actually a 7-year-old, right? Because that's how Michael kind of want to keep the innocence of Sam, essentially, like let's keep it as a kid. You actually get to see the actor without any of the head to toe gear because he's the little kid peeping in on these ladies I'm about to tell you about. So, anyways, Lori, who is played, and I cannot remember the actress's name, but I know exactly what the fuck she's from. Suki Waterhouse, I believe is the character's name, Suki from True Blood. So anyway, she's self-conscious 22-year-old from out of town, joins her sister and older friends. Older sister Danielle and her friends Maria and Janet for Halloween because in this town, they had a big old party. So the girls all select like Princess Fairy Tales, and out comes Lori coming as Little Red Riding Hood. A devout Halloween traditionalist, Lori misses trick-or-treating and is uncaring of her friends' talks of dates. While the other girls are picking up dates, and I mean like literally picking them up, and head to a party in the woods, Lori decides to stay and enjoy the town festival instead. Later on, ooh, later on the way to meet up with the friends, she is attacked by a hooded man dressed as a vampire. Now, this guy he had attacked someone else at the party. And a bundle of red cloth later falls from a tree, right, by the girls' bonfire. revealing an injured and frightened vampire. Now, this is fantastic because karma at its best, right? So they unmask the man who's revealed to be the psychopath fucking principal, Stephen Wilkins, who is seeking out victims at the festival. Now, he had already gotten one at the festival. And it's funny because the way he hid her body among the crowd was among drunk people because she looked like she passed out. Anyways, moving on from that. So Lori and her sisters all shed their clothing, and this was fucking wild. Like, was not expecting this part. They start shedding their clothes and skin and transforming into werewolves. It being her first time killing someone and having sought out someone who deserves it, she transforms and slaughters Wilkins before devouring him. Sam, our lovely little Sam, is sitting nearby on a log and watches as the werewolves feast on their deceased dates. And there was a lot. Sam, this is where Sam comes more into play, right? He's not just like a bystander at this point. He's not just watching. So Craig, as you remember, the grumpy old neighbor of Stephen Wilkins, is a Halloween hater, dresses up his dog to scare trick-or-treaters off from his house, right? As the night proceeds, Craig encounters escalating phenomena. First his house is egged, the front of the house is egged, then his lawn is filled with well done jack-o'-lanterns. And the halls and ceilings are scrawled with Halloween and Samhain sayings, right? And kind of almost in blood. It was red and it was dripping. Craig is then so the reason why this happens though, let's kind of because I forgot about this. Let's kind of go back a little bit. So when he's trying to scare off trick-or-treaters with his dog, Sam happens to be one of the trick-or-treaters. And in this process, it kind of pisses Sam off because, why are you scaring the trick-or-treaters? Give me a fucking piece of candy, bitch. So anyway, so while all of this happening to his house, once the hallways and ceilings are scrawled with Halloween sayings and everything, you see little Sam sitting on the bed, and he ambushes Craig. So in their struggle, Craig manages to unmask the assailant, whose head resembles a grotesque hybrid of a skull and a jack-o'-lantern. Craig shoots Sam several times with a shotgun, which, kind of looks like he kills him, but he really doesn't. I mean, come on now. It is the embodiment of Samhain in Halloween, and you're not going to kill him. So anyways, Sam kind of sits there a little bit. And Craig notices that stuff starts to reanimate, right? Because he blows off the hand of Sam, and then all of a sudden it pops up, right? So anyway, Sam blinks a little bit, and so he begins to reanimate and incapacitates and corners Craig. Krieg? No. Instead of killing him, Sam impales him with a candy bar in Krieg's lap, completing the tradition of handing out candy on Halloween. Satisfied, he spares Krieg and ominously departs. Meanwhile, a photograph is burning in the fireplace that reveals that this grumpy old bastard was the driver from the school bus massacre on Halloween who had went missing years ago. So, concluding the movie, a heavily injured and bandaged grumpy old man Krieg gives out candy to trick-or-treaters on his front porch. He witnesses the other characters of the film milling about, observing and upholding Halloween traditions, right? So you got Billy with a psychopathic father handing candy out on his front porch. Rhonda across the street pulling her jack-o'-lantern or her wagon full of jack-o'-lanterns. Lori and her friends driving by, laughing and, enjoying their time together. And Emma and Henry arriving home. Now remember, Henry and Emma were the first couple we saw at the very beginning of the film, who Emma just. So Sam witnesses Emma prematurely extinguishing out the jack-o'-lantern and moves in to kill her as punishment. Krieg answers another knock at his door, only to finally get his karma and be greeted by the undead children of the bus, who brutally tear him apart in retribution for their murder. So, awesome movie. Definitely one of those you gotta check out, even if it's like fucking tradition, right? So anyways, so I learned a couple of fun things. Got it on my phone. All right. So for this one, let's see. There was so many fun little Easter eggs I learned about this, right? So Sam's backstory is mostly unknown because people were demanding it, and obviously, you got the internet, Reddit, and stuff's giving you out all of their theories. So it is learned that Sam's name is short for Samhain, which is the original iteration of Halloween. His name's origin may also explain his supernatural appearance and abilities later in the film. Now, what's funny about Sam is when you're thinking about scary movies and everything and killers, most killers are just milling about killing any and everyone. Sam literally is not. He's more of like an enforcer. He's more so during the film as like inactive, like NPC basically, right? And he only intervenes when someone isn't upholding a tradition of his holiday, right? So, as we're moving through, Old Man Krieg. Oh, he's the only one who, that's what it was. He's the only one who doesn't kill for fun, right? Freddy Krueger kills for fun. Jason, Michael Myers, fucking obsessions. Saw. Who else do we have? I don't know, a bunch, whatever. So, anyways, he actually grew a really good cult following, right? Because this got delayed. It should have been, I think, released. Was it 2 years prior? I think is what I was reading, and instead it kind of just flew under the radar, went straight to DVD. So it's rightfully gained its cult following, had huge, huge success with those who did watch it on DVD. Let's see. Devilish Innocence, standing no smaller than a taller than a small child. He watches delight. He watches in delight as his beloved holiday is unfolding, only to spring into action when he witnesses an unlucky soul dishonoring a Halloween tradition. So this is fun, right? Um, Sam is actually a creation of a graphic. Is it a graphic novel? It's a graphic novel by Michael Dougherty himself, right? And on YouTube, you can find a short movie he made. And then during the early 2000s, oddly enough, they were using Sam in different commercials for different fucking holidays, right? There's the one, and I vividly remember it. There's the one where it's um, back to school, and all the kids are standing way off to the fucking side at a bus stop waiting for their bus while little Sam is there with his little, sack. So, anyways, Sam may appear as a small child, but don't let that fool you. The vengeful they call it vengeful. He's not really vengeful, but the vengeful Halloween spirit is actually centuries old and maybe more. In trick or treat lore, there is no record of Sam's origin. In an interview with Paste, previewing the graphic novel, so here's the graphic novel, guys. So I'm gonna add this to the show notes too because I plan on checking it out. So it's called Trick or Treat: Days of the Dead, and the creator obviously was Michael Dougherty. Was asked about the origins of Sam. He said, I don't like the idea of revealing his origins because I feel like that's what takes away from the mystery and the power of the character, which is why I will never do a story that flats out says, here's all his origins. Smart. While we may never know how Sam came to be, Days of the Dead does inform us that he actually his existence spans across centuries. The earliest story begins in the 1600s in Ireland, where a witch is sentenced to death, despite being an actual witch. The woman is rather benevolent, and a young soldier sent to question her winds up falling in love with her. Though the duo attempts to escape, they both fail and are burned at the stake. The witch catches a glimpse of Sam in the distance as the flames engulf her. She takes this as a sign that her spirit will endure. The couple is shown on the final page to be happily reunited in spirit form. While Sam might terrify those who deserve it, he seems to be rather helpful when unprovoked. In another tale in the same series, or in the same graphic novel, this one's called Corn Maiden. So, it's the chronological order of the pioneers building a railroad west during the mid-1800s. Mr. Bledsoe leads the group of construction workers setting their sights on bringing civilization to open wilderness. His adventurous daughter Sarah tags along. Quickly, they find out that the native people are living on the very land that Bloodsoe once. See where this is going? While he grumbles about his irritations over the settlement, his daughter befriends a native girl by the name of Pawnee. Pawnee? Pawnee? Sorry, guys. Shortly after befriending Sarah, Pawnee gives her a Sam doll. She states that the doll will protect Sarah from evil spirits. Sarah then asks if the doll itself resembles a good spirit. Her friend cryptically states, "I would not say that, but the shaman told me he is very old and very powerful." So later, Sarah's father shifts from disapproving of her native friends to suspiciously being supportive, allowing her to celebrate Halloween with them. Excited, Sarah brings along candy to share with her newfound friends. Quickly, however, all of the natives fall ill and die. Sounds like someone we know. The principal. Oh, anyways. Quickly, however, all the natives fall ill. He admits to his colleagues that if Sarah partook in the candy, it would have been an acceptable loss because he's the one that poisoned the fucking candy. Sam watches in the background. He then stands by Sarah and wreaks a devastating vengeance on her father and his workers as pumpkins and vines emerge from their bodies, killing them. Sarah and Sam and the spirits of the natives look on as Halloween justice is done. I don't know if you can see this. Can you? Oh, sucks because I have background. See this? This is the short I'm talking about. Okay. So more than a decade before Trick or Treat ever came to fruition, Sam was actually a primary character for an animated short Michael Doughtery created in 1996. The character was conceived by Dougherty during his time as a student at NYU Tisch School of the Arts, where the short animated film was called Season's Greetings. Dougherty states on his official YouTube channel that images used for the animation were all hand-drawn, colored with markers, and glued to clear animation cells. That's a far cry from the blazing, faster computer-assisted animation processes of today. In the film, Sam appears as much as he does in the later Trick or Treat film, with a few minor differences in his burlap sack mask. In the animated short, he is initially presented as a young trick-or-treater. He passes a sign showing a missing child, foreshadowing the danger to come. After failing to secure any sweet loot while trick-or-treating, the seemingly little tyke heads down the back alley where a shadowy adult figure approaches him. The stalker attacks, but little Sam is seen as the one emerging from the alleyway with a suspiciously full sack in tow. Turns out you can't trick Sam no matter your size. So obviously, Sam is derived from a Celtic festival called Samhain. Halloween as a holiday is derived from many old pagan traditions, one of which comes from the ancient Celtic festival known as Samhain. The festival marks the moment in the year where ancient people believe that it was the easiest to communicate with both the dead and non-human spirits. In this way of celebrating the film's final harvest was set before winter set in. The Celts might cross over and whisk people away at this time of year. So often they dressed up in beastly costumes to avoid their own kidnapping. During the night of October 31st, monsters and spirits were said to be wandering the harvest plains. Records speak of headless spirits and imps. Families would light fires near their farms and homes to protect them from these creatures. In the Middle Ages, Celts began carving hollowed out turnips that would be hung by strings and lit from inside. These were the precursors for our pumpkin-based jack-o'-lanterns. Eventually, the practice of mumming began, which involved putting costumes and traveling home to home to receive baked treats in return for singing songs and praying for the dead. Given the legacy of Halloween, the character Sam was named rather appropriately. So, goes on a little bit more. I love Looper. Sam is meant to resemble a baby and a pumpkin. By design, Sam was supposed to stalk the streets of the fictional town in Ohio of Warren Valley with an innocent exterior, but what lies beneath the mask seems something devilishly delightful for horror enthusiasts. Michael Dougherty first created Sam for the animated short where he remained masked. But in 2002, when he first sketched his idea of what might be underneath that burlap sack, according to the film's extras, he gave his sketch to a concept artist with the following instruction. If you took a fetus skull and a pumpkin and merged them together, what would it look like? The product is what is seen in the film once his mask is removed. Rest assured that it was perfectly horrific. To fit with the theme and the style of the character, his anatomy has to match. So therefore, the character is, of course, chock full of pumpkin guts. When Krieg fires his shotgun at Sam, instead of flesh, seeds and stringy pumpkin entrails explode from the little monstrosity, which is so funny because we're at Target and Roland saw a Sam doll. Not a doll. Well, kind of. Action figure, I guess. And so it's by, is it NECA, I think is the name. I don't know. Roland's really into horror movies, figurines because of YouTube. He hasn't seen any of them, so that's good. Um, but we bought Sam. He came with the different heads. So the one before Sam gets shot, the one with Sam getting shot, where he's got the little stringy of pumpkin coming out. Pretty cool, not gonna lie. So, so like I said, in this movie, a child actor is who is playing Sam for the most part as he's an NPC. Now, whenever we get into like the fight scenes and stuff of Sam, that's more of a very small gymnast, clearly, because when you see the moves, oh my god. But this was Michael Dougherty's, envision of Sam. He always wanted a child to play Sam. So, anyways, the tales, traditions, and themes. So, Michael Dougherty wanted his character of Sam to embody that idea. The only way for the little Halloween icon to appear as a child is to actually cast a child. In the interview with Collider back in 2013, he stated that he felt the spirit of Halloween would be someone playful and mischievous because, let's face it, as creepy as Halloween is, it's also really fun. He continued, there's sort of an innocence that balances out the terrifying aspect of it. So I felt the character should embody that. So I thought, well, if there was a spirit of Halloween, he would probably walk around looking like a kid so he can wander the streets and blend in. Ultimately, at the time, it was a 7-year-old Quinn Lord was cast as Sam. Dougherty said that while they auditioned many kids, Lord ultimately captured the contrasting innocent and mischievousness of Sam rather well. Complete in a onesie and carrying a massive lolly to boot, Sam fits the bill of a seemingly sweet childhood on the outside. Unfortunately, despite the adorable facade presented by Lord, Emma and Mr. Krieg were forced to see the nastier side. So he does, like I said, appear in a lot of commercials. Newer fans may not be aware, Sam actually featured in a series of short films back in 2011. Michael Dougherty partnered with FearNet to market 24-hour trick-or-treat marathons on Halloween Day that aired from 2011 to 2013. It mimicked the 24-hour marathons of the sweeter A Christmas Story that many viewers are used to watching every year on Christmas. Short films feature Sam appear during other holidays or pivotal moments throughout the year, scaring people in scenarios such as back to school, Easter candy, and Father's Day. Each short is only about a minute long, so it could act as a commercial for the actual marathon. Fans are eager for more of Sam, can easily enjoy these shorts that also appear in many side stories or sequels to Sam's adventures in Warren Valley. Some of the films even remind viewers of traditions that must be honored during Halloween, at least if they wish to avoid the wrath of Sam. The videos can be found on Michael Dougherty's official YouTube channel under the Trick or Treat playlist. Fun, fun, fun little Easter egg. I didn't realize this. My husband pointed it out. So the severed hand scene is an actual homage to The Thing. Being a horror aficionado himself, Dougherty was sure to include details and references to other great moments in horror history, one standing out in the scene of Mr. Krieg shoots Sam's hand off. So for starters, the actor who actually played Mr. Grumpy Old Man was Brian Cox, had a significant input in his appearance as Mr. Krieg. In the documentary Trick or Treat, The Lore and Legends of Halloween, it shows the actor asked to be styled in the manner similar to the horror maestro himself, John Carpenter. To further reference um, to John Carpenter, the scene between Krieg and Sam plays out quite striking moment in one of John Carpenter's most famous horror films, 1982, The Thing. So when Sam's hand begins skittering around the floor, Mr. Krieg utters, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." In The Thing, the character that plays Palmer says the exact same line in complete shock as he watches another character's detached head grow crab-like legs and scurry around the lab. So like I said, you can see um, the actual child actor who plays Sam make a very early appearance in the movie um, before the ending. So he's the little boy peeping in on Lori and her friends as they're changing into their costumes. Let's see, is there anything else? Doesn't look like it. Well, guys, that is kind of all I had for this. I hope you really enjoyed it. I highly recommend Halloween. It was fabulous. Shout outs to my two podcasts. Uh, Paranormal Lovers, love you guys. Love the mug. Got my bag. And Moth Boys podcast. If you guys haven't already, make sure you check out their merch. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening and hope you have lots and lots of fun on Halloween or Samhain or whichever you Dia de los Muertos. Whatever you guys happen to celebrate, have a fantastic time. Enjoy it. I know it's in the middle of the week, but party on, guys, party on. All right, you guys, I hope you stay hauntedly fabulous, and I will catch you at the next episode.